Morning, sir.
The Secretary to State Government, Chief of Staff, let me, on your behalf and on behalf of the Lagos State Government, welcome to the State House here in Marina, a very powerful delegation of the Nigerian Customs Service, here led by Mint's brand new Acting Controller General, is a Tiaroba Acting Controller General, a man that listening to him this morning brings a lot of melodies into my ears. Controller Bashiru Adewale Adeni, through you to acknowledge and to welcome very warmly all of your senior officers and officers and men that have come on the entourage today with you to the State House in Marina. Let me first say that on behalf of the people and government of Lagos State, we want to congratulate you on your elevation and appointment, even in an acting capacity by Mr. President. I want to say without any iota of doubt that my first personal contact with you this morning shows that indeed you are a round hole, in a round peg, and that you do not only exhibit skills and knowledge of the service, you have the passion, you have a sheer dedication, and you have a knowledge of what it means to head the customs service at this point in time. So I want to wish you all the very best. I want to say that indeed, I believe that Mr. President have chosen well, and I imagine that all your colleagues will give you the needed support for you to take the service to another new height. And so I want to thank you and I want to congratulate you. Having said that, is also really to also publicly acknowledge the fact that Lagos is not just home to big business concerns in the country. Lagos is not just the commercial, economic nerve center of our country. You've also alluded to it this morning that indeed a significant percentage of the strategic operations and revenue of the Nigerian Customs Service resides here in Lagos. And we were happy to be home to you and to all your service. We know too well the history of how Lagos become what it is today and the history of the Nigerian Customs Service. All of the major ports in the country are here. The international routes, 60 to 65% are here. The biggest land border is here. And several other strategic installations that makes the operation and the operations of the Nigerian Customs worth as well are here. And I want to assure you that Lagos and Lagosians will continue to give you that hospitality, that place of comfort, that willing environment where business can thrive, where officers can do their work without fear or favor, where service can be rendered to both our citizens, to your customers, and to the international community at large. I want to assure you that we will continue to partner in whatever means that we deem fit to ensure that your men have the right environment to continue to do well and do the right thing. It's not in this forum that we'll talk about the derivation of how that is unfair to Lagos. We'll keep that for another time, but it's okay. But we're very, very accommodating citizens in Lagos. We know too well that Lagos continues to breathe our country, and that huge responsibility is on all of us, and we're always delighted, to carry on this shoulder. You also mentioned a few of your installations that are strategic, and we all need to continue to work together. The two ports, Apapa Port and Tinkan Port, had, when we came in, was a major, major traffic disaster for our citizens, for customers, and for users of the ports. But I'm happy to say that the two ports, Apapa Port and Tinkan Port, had, when we came in, was a major, major traffic disaster for our citizens, for customers, and for users of the ports. But I'm happy to say that in the last 3 years, we have worked together significantly with all of the port operators, Nigerian Port Authority, the customs, all of the operators of the ports, and all of the transport owners significantly. We're not at 100% yet, but we've moved significantly from where we used to be 3 years ago. People used to dread going to Apapa those days, but we're happy that I still get a daily traffic report. I have gotten the one for this morning. Between 7 and 8 o'clock, I get a total of about 15 different pictures and videos of what all of the port area looks like on a daily basis, and I've been getting this report for the past 2 years. I've gotten the one for today. So I have a fair idea of the vehicular movement, truck movement, container movement around the port. But we can do better. And you have alluded to the fact that we all can work and ensure that the turnaround at our ports is important and is improved so that we can be globally competitive. People can very freely want to make Lagos, a port destination, and even make it a transshipment for some other West African, neighboring countries. But we're where we are, and we can do a lot better. And the very important one that we also mentioned is actually the export, containers. Because of even where we are as a country, where we need to increase our export earnings, our foreign currency earnings, where we need to ensure that we can increase our share, and we're not just a monoproduct country that relies only, on oil. That let us try and see if we can diversify, if we can encourage our manufacturers to export so that they can earn foreign direct investment. They can earn foreign currency that can help also improve our currency. It speaks to the fact that we need to give that arm of our business, a fast track, and I like the fact that you've identified it, and so that they can be globally competitive. Let us ensure that we can create a pathway for export containers to have continuous access into the port, and you do your excise duty and your inspection swiftly so that, they can meet with their vessel, dispatch and all of it. I believe it's a collaborative effort. I believe it's a work in progress that can improve, the turnaround all around the port, from the port authority themselves, owners of a port, to the service of the customs, yourself, who continue to ensure that goods that are meant for this country are what comes to this country. And I want to commend your men that we see some of this contraband, some of these illicit, daunting things that your men unravel sometimes, and we'll try to bring out scrupulous elements, to ensure that they do not make our country or our ports a dumping ground. And I think I want to commend you for that. But we all need to work together, to ensure that happens seamlessly, with all of our, we still have our full team, we've got over 400, 500 last month staff. I have a whole committee that is working, will work with the customs police, the Nigerian police, airports command, and to ensure that all of us understand the different roles that we can bring to bear, and we can make, the ports, a worthwhile experience. But that having been said, we have been taking proactive position to see how we can build new ports. I'm surprised that the customs lead in the Lekki port, deep sea port, she's not here. I know it's a lady that was there before, but I know that you have a formation also at the Lekki deep sea port, and the operations have started, though gradually, but it has also started there. And I need to also inform you that there's also an approval for a Badagry port. And our way people are clapping. They are Badagry people. So So the whole idea is to build strategic infrastructure for our citizens. Lekki is on the eastern part, Badagry is on the western part, so that we can decongest, Apapa and Tingan, who have actually stretched their capacity to the limit of what it was installed capacity for. So we need to think and begin to think forward. And I'm excited that the Badagry Port 2, the investors, they have put in the funding together, and all of the approvals have been sorted, so that in 2 years or so, we might also have, a brand new Badagry Port. So these are some of the things that will ensure that, investment come in, that will ensure that businesses can move in and out, and we can begin to compete with some of the biggest and some of the, nice ports that we see all around the world. And we also can increase the revenue earnings of government, right, and be able to do a lot of other things. So that is one area that we're willing to collaborate, and work with you, extensively on. The other one that, you mentioned is around, your Ikeja, operations. It's big and it's getting bigger every time. We don't want you to leave completely. We actually can look for land for you, because you also create economics, in that neighborhood. Whilst your operation has grown, we know that you want to take those operations, into a more conducive environment, but you also can put the place to a proper and a good use, thereafter. You've also mentioned the presidential approval on the congestion of the port. I think that's a very novel idea, and I think if you get it right and you get it up and doing, your name will be written in gold, because that is one area that is still beckoning, for a swift, intervention. We have the waterways, so your warehouse in Ikorodu, I'm sure barges can also help you take them off, and you have a lot of, container terminals, albeit, let us also ensure that there are areas where traffic would not be impeded. So, it's important for you to be able to clear them and have space for new, containers in and out, so that it will be seamless. So we want to commend you for all of that. On the land border with Seme and with our neighboring countries, it's usually a hot spot for everyone, but I think the place is a lot better now. There's been facilities that have been built, and I think that it's a lot better than what it used to several years ago. So it's also to commend, you and your men for that. I think your final, request and observation is, which is important as a leader, is to be able to take care of your staff, is to take care of your officers, which is why you've said that, the welfare of the officers is important, is critical, and it's something that all of us must see, at all times, that whoever people that are working with us, we must be able to provide, a sustainable, and an enduring welfare opportunity for them. So it's not out of place what you have requested for, to see how we can identify, land for you to be able to work with developers, and build appropriate, affordable, estates for your officers. I'm aware that you have similar things in Abuja. The land in Abuja is far bigger than our own, and I'm aware that there are some big time developers that have just been handsomely rewarded in Abuja. Lagos also has the capacity to do that. So all the big men in Abuja, we can give them spaces too. All the big customers, we can give them spaces too in Lagos. So you put up a request. We'll try and work with our various departments and see what we can do, to support and to ensure that that it's done, as soon as it's visible. But that the land in Lagos is not speculative. Once we give it, you have to move in immediately. So we don't. Our own land is oil, it's customs, is everything. So you have to ensure that we also can help you identify, credible, developers. But that the land in Lagos is not speculative. Once we give it, you have to move in immediately. So we don't, our own land is oil, it's customs, is everything. So, so you have to ensure that we also can help you identify, credible, developers that are sincere, and that are worth, their bill, so that they can fast track those developments for you, and your officers, can be, well taken care of and settled in. So other than all of this, really, is to say that I'm happy with your comments. I'm happy with your commitment, with your dedication, and I say that for us as a government, we will always, at all times, ensure that you have a conducive, working, living environment, and you're an agency of government that we believe is very strategic to the revenue service delivery of this country, and will continue to be available to support and to help at all times. Once again, I want to wish you all the very best. I want to wish your officers and your men all the very best. And I want to say that at the end of the day, please don't forget Lagos, and make sure that when you are making those revenues, remember us, because we need to build more schools and more hospitals and more roads for you. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor, the SSG, the Chief of Staff, and all members of my delegation, it's my pleasure to be in Government House, Lagos. And first, I'd like to sincerely express my gratitude for accepting to host us. It's a very, very short notice that we gave His Excellency. And despite the fact that I knew that at that period, very, very busy schedules, he has accepted to host us, and in such a very warm style. Thank you so very much, Your Excellency. I'm here to pay my courtesy, to register my presence as part of my working visits to Lagos. For every customs officer, Lagos is very, very strategic to our operations. We can say that as it is the economic hub of the country, Lagos is the engine room, is the heartbeat of customs operations. We could say that between all these officers who are seated here, we effectively control 70–75% of our operations, of our revenue, of our enforcement. So the biggest seaports, the busiest border operations, the busiest airports in terms of volume are all controlled by the officers here. And when we look at our career at different points of our careers, each and every one of us aspire to work and to have an experience that Lagos offers. So we are your very, very good guests, and we also acknowledge the fact that you are our wonderful hosts. Now, we know that for us to achieve these feats, we need a very peaceful environment, a peaceful working environment to have, for us to be able to excel and live to our full potentials. We know some other climes where customs operations are also very, very strategic, but then we don't have the peaceful and conducive environment for us to work. This is not the case about Lagos, and we also don't want to take that for granted. So I want to assure Your Excellency that as responsible officer and as a responsive agency of government, we would live to our full obligations, we would live up to our civic responsibility. More importantly, we would operate within the framework of the law. We will be law-abiding in our operations. One of those, we followed your attempt, very serious efforts to make Lagos a smart city, to make it a very good working place for all Lagosians, some of us inclusive, and we followed the progress that you have made. The least we can do as a responsible agency of government is to complement your efforts in terms of sustainable development. And in the very short time that I have been in office, we've started to look and review various operations to ensure that they align with your vision of making Lagos work for Lagosians. The most important part of this is the situation in our Apapa ports. The congestion, the usual congestions that happens in these places, that is making our ports no longer competitive and no longer user-friendly. We've just secured a presidential approval to undertake a congestion of the ports, Lagos, all the ports in Lagos, using a combination of public auctions and offloading some of the containers to the Lagos warehouse in Ikotun. I've visited all the facilities and very shortly working with all our stakeholders, where we will be able to kickstart this process and create the space necessary inside the port and around the precinct of the port. We're also working with our partners, the Lagos state government, to dedicate specific export terminals for processing of export containers. We have We have seen, the pains that our exporters go through when they want to line up their containers for call-up in the ports. So this is one of the areas that we are also working on to ensure that, Nigerian exporters who are using Lagos ports get value for their money. Most of the time, when these containers line up the streets trying to enter into the ports, some of the goods they carry gets bad and they are no longer competitive when they get there. So I've visited some of the facilities earmarked for this. Our officers will be working with Nigerian Ports Authority and all other agencies of government that are charged with that responsibility. Finally, I know that our presence in Ikeja has created some kind of nightmare for people around here. I lived around these places and I've walked around these places too, and I know that we can do better. So we are beginning to take proactive actions to ensure that we do not create a nuisance to the communities that we work, that are around us in Ikeja. The long-term plan is to relocate the entire facilities, the training school and the Federal Operations Unit completely away from that place. We are working with Ogun State government to get a conducive place where we can, because over the years we have been there, our expansion has been such that it could no longer comfortably accommodate us. So we are already exploring a more sustainable way, a better use to which we can make of that place, so that we would not, our operations will not impinge on the peace and the operations of people around us. Our officers also need a very good memory of Lagos. Some of them, their families are here, and to ensure that they deliver their best, we are also trying to work out a welfare scheme for our customs officers. And one of the things that we are looking at is an homeowner scheme through which we would be working with some developers as partners. And on this, I would like to seek your partnership in, giving affordable housings to our officers. And one of the things we'll be looking forward to is if we can get land, if you can graciously approve for us access to land where we can have that kind of project. Officers can develop these houses at their pace, and there could be payment plans that we are going to work out with developers who are going to work with us. I know it's a loaded schedule for His Excellency. I just wanted to use this to signal that I have resumed, and I would be coming to Lagos fairly regularly because of the strategic importance of our operations. And if there is need to touch base with you, or if there is need to flag or draw our attention to any issue surrounding our operations in Lagos, we'll be willing to give you a listening here. Once again, on behalf of all of us, I want to say a very big thank you for giving us this audience. The work of the Excellency is a very tedious work. Once in a while, when you need to relax your elbow, you have something to lean on.
Very traditional. This is map of Lagos for your office, and your pots are somewhere here. Here. So this is that's your Commodore channel. Yes. So you can see the breakwater. So it's somewhere. And I think this is where we are now. Somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
I can see you are in a family.